This is a Black Nouveau web exclusive.
It's a part of our heritage. It's part of many blacks in this country heritage to serve in the military. Since our earliest existence in this country, we had always fought in America's wars, even predating this country being a country, with the first casualty of the Revolutionary War, Crispus Attucks, being a black man. Subsequent to that, all of our great leaders always encouraged us to join the military, to fight in defense of this nation as a way of trying to gain full citizenship.
And fight they did. More than 2.5 million African-American men and thousands of African-American women served in the armed forces during World War II. With the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, many Americans enlisted, but some were drafted.
I got married, and I told him Milwaukee I was married. He said, "Well, that's all right too." It's good. And at the time, I said, "Well, I have my mother and father and brothers." I tried to keep up as much as possible. So he said, "No, that won't keep you out."
White was among the troops sent to Europe.
I spent most of my time in Gießen, Germany. And I was in the heavy weapons division. I was an operator, truck operator, can ammunition for, and pulling the howitzer. My old barber, he got left, and they gave me the job. I was at the time, I didn't want to get off the truck. So I spent my time as the barber.
Black soldiers served on the front lines in both the Pacific and European theaters. Roy Gaylord was among the soldiers fighting in Italy.
You were scared when you first started, but I guess you get angry. Guy's shooting at you, why you gonna get scared? I'm not gonna run from him. He's shooting me. I'm gonna let him shoot back at him, you know.
Gaylord was a machine gun operator with a heavy weapons company.
There was a lot of fire was going on. They firing both ways, and my buddy jumped up. He said, "I can't stand it, Roy. I'm gonna go." And I said, "Don't do it, sir." And I could say, "Don't do it." He jumped out of the foxhole and run. All I looked up, I seen his both legs was coming down. One of the legs was separated from his body. They done blowed him up.
What was key about serving in World War II is that blacks were fighting on two fronts. We were fighting fascism and totalitarianism overseas, but we were fighting for equal rights here at home.
The military was still segregated, with black soldiers usually under the command of white officers. Back in Milwaukee, Bob Harris was drafted out of Lincoln High School.
The thing that got us so puzzled, in Lincoln High School, we were integrated. You know, I think we were about maybe 25% of the school at that time. And the majority of the school was Italian heritage. And then you had Slovakian, Irish, Polish, German, a few Armenians, and Greeks. And that was kind of the mix of Lincoln High School. And so we'd walk home together, you know. We got into the military only to be separated.
Even though the units were segregated, they often fought side by side.
They was nice. When the guy on the right or left of us, they trusted us and we trusted them because we was all in together, you know. I never forget our commanding general, when we got that General Armour, that was his commanding officer. He said, "Well, we're all over here, and we're glad we got over here." And so over here, he said, "A man's a man, regardless what color you is."
The Germans often tried to use America's racial problem to divide American forces.
The Germans didn't appreciate us fighting too much. You know, it's different things. while you're here fighting. You can't even go in a restaurant or something like that, you know. And they had an old girl named Sally. She was broadcast every evening, what you all here fighting for, you ain't got nothing to fight for and all that. And that made you feel bad, but you, hey, you know, I'm a soldier, I'm gonna to do what I was supposed to do. And I did it, so we did it.
Italy was eventually captured by the Allies. With the war in Europe winding down, attention shifted to the Pacific and defeating Japan.
So going overseas, they didn't know what to do with us. They dropped the bomb. In basic training, everything was to invade Japan. You know, they were getting ready as it was the combat infantry. And I said, man, what are we going to be doing? Well, you're going to be the ones to build the bridges over wherever we take Japan. We're going to be bombing in there, and they're going to rebuild the bridges and so forth.
The dropping of the atomic bomb effectively ended the war. Japan surrendered on August 15, 1945, but Bob Harris's tour of duty continued. He boxed in the service, winning many championships.
So they had the Golden Gloves of Korea, and you know, and the Diamond Belt of Korea, 2 fights contests. I won both of those.
But back home, there were still wars to be fought.
There were little battles that you had to fight. You know, even though you were a veteran, I don't think that was your badge automatically that you're going to get a good opportunity, depending on where the work was. And many veterans wanted to buy houses once they got to work and started their families. But there was discrimination in housing. You know, you couldn't buy in certain neighborhoods until the open housing law was passed many years later. In
fact, it was because of the service of blacks during World War II and the atrocities that they faced after World War II, shortly after World War II, that President Truman signed Executive Order 9981 that desegregated the military forces, and that served as an experiment, if you will, for the rest of the nation.
Roy White returned to Milwaukee, where he worked for an international harvester until his retirement in 1979. Roy Gaylord moved with his family to Milwaukee in 1951, where he and his wife raised 5 children and 53 foster children. Bob Harris got his college degree through the GI Bill and taught in a number of schools in Milwaukee.
During World War II, the history was really not spelled out and was not told in its entirety. And that's incumbent upon us to make sure that history reflects the honor, the sacrifice, and the service that blacks rendered during World War II.